Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Rinks. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Mortal Kombat. So introducing this new series, we're going to be talking Mortal Kombat, or short, talking MK. Ever since I was little, I actually played Mortal Kombat, and I know that's probably a sin because Mortal Kombat's rated M for mature and, parents are irresponsible, right? But we've all played Mortal Kombat when we were kids. Ever since I was little, I grew up to love these characters. I actually just like them just because of how they fight. But ever since the reboot in 2011, Mortal Kombat has changed ever since, and I think personally it has changed for the better. So what makes it a better timeline? That's what this video is going to be talking about. With that out of the way, let's get right into it. Starting out with this video, let's explore what Mortal Kombat is. It's basically a game where these different realms are fighting with each other in Mortal Kombat, a conquest where each realm has to win 10 consecutive tournaments in a row to claim another realm. And with it comes several iconic characters that we've grown to love over the years. It has experienced a reboot back in 2011, and we need to ask ourselves, is the new timeline better from the original? Yes, in my opinion it is. But what makes the new timeline even better? To me, it's three distinct characteristics. It's personality, designs, and narrative. When the reboot started, it kicked off when Raiden was just about to be killed off by Shao Kahn, and then he sends a vision back to his past self, telling him what would happen if Shao Kahn were to conquer Earthrealm and to win Armageddon. We go all the way back to the events of the original tournament of Mortal Kombat in the reboot, and that's where it officially kicks off. And we're going to go through each one in detail about what makes the new timeline better and what expands on it. And then in this segment, we're going to be talking about personality. All the characters in the reboot, in the new timeline, they have demonstrated something that they have not even displayed prior to that. Yes, some of the older games, they did have cutscenes and you heard some dialogue, but in my opinion, they weren't as charismatic as they are now. With all the characters, Raiden, Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, all of them have shown different characteristics of their counterpart of the original timeline. Some are even more charismatic, like Johnny Cage, where you see him as this cocky Hollywood actor, and then he just so happens to be translated into a family man. There are other characters like Scorpion, who he is hell-bent on getting revenge on his family's demise, but then come to find out that he can redeem himself. Then you have characters like Sub-Zero, who wants to redeem his clan's honor and name. Then there's characters like Jackson Briggs, who I think is a very interesting character, what they added on with the new timeline, where he suffers from PTSD. Starting out where he was trying to save Sonya Blade, and then he ends up being tortured by Shang Tsung, and then his arms are taken away by Ermac. Then he becomes a revenant doing horrible things in the name of Quan Chi and Shinnok. And then he loses his wife towards the end of MK11. And then he ends up betraying his daughter to make himself a new and better timeline. And to me, that's very interesting because it expands on people who go through PTSD. Then there's characters who have lack of personality that actually makes them more interesting. Characters like Raiden, who I've seen on the internet make jokes about him consulting with the elder gods, and him ruining the timeline even more when he's trying to prevent it. And in a way it's kind of hilarious, but at the same time it's kind of tragic because he's trying to save everyone, but he ends up making things worse. And then by the end of all of it, of MKX, he ends up becoming corrupt. And if anything, that just shows that maybe Raiden was like this the entire time. He was just very self-righteous. And to me, that adds more fuel to the fire to the story. And then you have characters like Liu Kang, who has always been humble, and then it shows that he even can be corruptible as well, where it adds more flair to the story. Because you don't want to keep these characters very one-dimensional. You want to show complexity to each character. Then you have other characters that they expand on prior to it that you didn't know anything about. And then you got characters like Baraka, who they expanded on too, where before he was just a mindless killer for Shao Kahn, but in MK11 it shows that he has a race, that he fights for his people, that no one really given him a chance to speak. And that's what Katana did for him, that showing him that he can be more than just a mindless killer for Shao Kahn, that he can be like him, and his people can be part of something. They can be treated as equals. And to me, that has always sit well for me. And even the villains have become more villainous over the years with the reboot of the new timeline, like Shao Kahn. Prior, he has always been the OG villain of the entire series, but to me, in my personal opinion, in MK11, I liked him the most because it shows that not only can he conquer realms and he's a badass of doing it, in the little tweak of Sindel's story, it shows that he even cared about her. And to me, that adds more complexity to him, that maybe he's not entirely heartless per se, but yes, he does conquer realms, but he does have a queen that he cares about. And that's adding more stuff to Sindel too, which I know that's a very controversial thing right now, but in my opinion, I'm all for it. Because I would like to think that Sindel is in control of her own mindset, even if it's evil. At least she is her own woman. She has her own plans instead of someone bewitching her. And then there's Nightwolf, who we just discovered that Nightwolf has a lineage of his tribe, that different people have become the mantle of Nightwolf. And to me, that's very interesting because that plays along with the lore of Mortal Kombat, expanding it, going all the way back to the Matoka's origins. I can go on, but basically, all these personalities are fleshed out better in the new timeline. Starting from Mortal Kombat 9 to MK11 right now, I can't get enough of these characters. There's not a bad character I can think of. The only one I can think of that I don't really like was Ferritor, but that's my personal preference. Not that the character's bad. I would actually like to see it more fleshed out even more, because if anything that has been shown here is that a character can be given a chance if you find the right story and the right traits for it. Another thing that the timeline has benefited from is the change of designs of all the characters and the settings of the realms. I can't really fault prior to the timeline because this game or this franchise has existed since 1992. Certain things that happened in 1992 and from there were outdated, so you can't really get away with it now. So you can't really put too much fault into it, but things need to be updated. And when it comes to like the designs of the characters, I'm glad that they changed it for the better. It doesn't look like cheap padding anymore, that they're color swapped, or it's just things thrown together. Like, each character feels like its own individual self. We get to the ninjas of Mortal Kombat, where that was the joke back in the original timeline years ago, where all the ninjas were basically just color swapped from each other. Now they feel like their own individual self. We got Scorpion, who actually looks like a Japanese assassin. You have Sub-Zero, who is descended from Chinese. His armor looks more Chinese-like. Those are two of the common ones, but let's get to the other ones. Let's take Reptile. Reptile actually looks like a Zatarian as he's depicted long ago. He looks reptilian. His armor is based off of that. Then you have Rain, who is a Dinian. He's half Dinian and he's half god. But he doesn't look like a traditional ninja. His outfit oozes royalty, and to me that was a right call for that. Then you have a character like Ermac, who he was a red ninja prior to it, but ever since the new timeline, they've changed it drastically where he looks very sorcery, and I am all for that. It doesn't make him look like a ninja because with his powers, he's not necessarily a ninja. It makes him more of a sorcerer. All these souls confound to each other. And then we have another set of characters that look very similar to each other, but they look vastly different, or the Edenians, or more importantly, Jade, Melina, Katana, Sindel. My thing with them is that I am glad they don't look like each other anymore. That they're not just wearing one top and then it's like a swimsuit outfit. I am tired of that. I'm glad that each one has their own, and it carries into personality. They all have their own set thing now. And going with Kitana, Sindel, and Shao Kahn, what makes them more interesting is that if you notice with their MK11 armor, you notice that a lot of it shares with each other about the gold part of it. Notice how with all of them that even though like Shao Kahn adopted them, they still share similarities to each other with their armor, where the different markings are very Adenian. And to me, that expands on it too. It adds the lore to it. Even with Shao Kahn, that there wasn't really any problem with his design. The only complaint I have with his is that he just looked like a built dude. In the MK version of him, he actually looks natural. Even with the spikes and his red eyes including with it, it adds more to it. Another character that I touched on earlier that they improved on his personality or his lore to him, Nightwolf is another character that they improved in the new timeline because, first off, I'm also Native American along with me being Hispanic, and they could have easily messed that up really badly. They could have turned that into a horrible situation, but they didn't. They kept it very practical of how he would address in the 90s, but still revamped it enough where it doesn't look cheesy or of anything. Even with his Revenant side, I like how he looks like a dark shaman, and that's what they were going for. So that's what makes me really happy about that, is that they took the time of looking at each character, no matter who they were. They took the time of all of their designs, how they connect to each other, how they connect to their realms. To me, I have respect for them for that. It's because they took the time of analyzing each character, and you're not going to tell me that their designs are worse compared to their original counterpart. You're not going to tell me that. And my little gripe with the new timeline is with Mortal Kombat 9, with how they looked then, I did not like how all of them, every single one, was physically bulked. Even the women were bulked. When it comes to MKX and 11, I like their designs much more, because all of them felt like they're different from each other. It didn't feel like they were just copy and paste. And I know that sounds like a minor gripe, but to me, I'm just glad that they fixed that. To go with designs, they have also improved on the voice acting in Mortal Kombat. With Mortal Kombat 9 through 11, they have improved the voices. Some of them are spot on with the character. Some I really love, like Jade. Jade was very consistent with her voice. Raiden, even though his dialogue can be laughable at times, his voice is very consistent with his character. And then you have characters like New Cybot, where I loved his voice in MK9. And then it just grew in MK11. It just exploded. I just loved his voice. But with all the voices, the one that sticks out to me the most that they have improved drastically was Scorpion. In MK9, I couldn't put into words about it that I really didn't favor the voice. I didn't take it seriously, and I get that the character was supposed to be angry, but I just couldn't take him seriously.
Where is the Lin Kuei, Sub-Zero? He killed my family and clan. I will have his head. Vengeance will be mine!
You'll confess what you've long denied? That your clan's hands are soaked in Shirai Ryu blood? In the blood of my family? I am not interested in Lin Kuei politics, Sub-Zero. My name is Hanzo Hasashi! You killed my wife, my son, and then you burrowed your way into my head, misdirected my vengeance, cost me my one chance to have them restored!
And then when we get to MK11, I loved his voice. Like, I couldn't get enough of it. His voice was so authentic, and I could believe everything he was saying. I didn't feel his rage just as much. I felt his pain. I felt his sorrow. I felt like I get with him about him avenging his family. The Revenant side, at least, the past self. And then the future self, the current one, He was calm, collected. He was the Grand Master of the Shirai Ryu.
The Shirai Ryu will not fall. The clan of imposters will indeed fall. I've restored the Shirai Ryu. Built a clan that's never been stronger. On a foundation of pretenders and outsiders, Kronika told me. Without our regional bloodlines, there is no Shirai Ryu. Our clan's massacre extinguished them. Kronika will revive the true Shirai Ryu in the new era. Do not trust Kronika. She uses your anger to enslave you, as Quan Chi did both of us. I let go my rage, and it saved me. To save yourself, you must do the same. Past time you were freed. We both know what truly drives you. It's not Shirai Ryu pride. It's your wife and child. Harumi and Satoshi were stolen from me. Murdered. Seeing them again is all that matters. We share this pain. I fought through hell to end it. But Kronika's new era is not the remedy. She would resurrect Shinnok, the same devil who brought death to our family and clan. He cannot be allowed to return. When I revived the Shirai Ryu, I vowed our clan would ensure Earthrealm's protection. Help me keep that promise.
But to cap it all off, design and voice acting played a major part in the reboot and in the new timeline, where it improved the look of the character, it expands on the lore to them, to the realms, to all the characters interconnected with each other, and then the voice acting going to the appropriate character, giving it the right sound. Now we get to the last part of the video, narrative. The narrative of Mortal Kombat has changed drastically and, in my opinion, for the best. Prior to the reboot, Mortal Kombat has always been a hit and miss with me when it comes to story, and to be honest, I don't know if Ed Boon ever anticipated for Mortal Kombat to get as big as it is now. So I don't know if he just threw things together in the earlier games, and the reboot is for a way to expand on that story, and I would like to believe that. All three games from 9, 10, and 11, the stories have a better story. Now it could be because they have better funding and a better company that works with them, but it has benefited from them. With the story, they add details to each character that adds to it. Because I like the idea of Baraka, where he actually thinks about, like, he's just not a mindless killer, or his race are just mindless people. If anything, it makes me think of like tribes from all over the world, where if given a chance, they can progress too. They don't have to be kept like that. I wouldn't say a theory, but with Edenians is that maybe not all Edenians are good, because in the original timeline, they've always made it out to be that Edenians are the pinnacle, like it's a utopia where all of them are good. But with the exception of Rain, Tanya, Melina, and Sindel, I would like to believe like maybe Edenians, a good bit of them are stuck up. Because mostly with people who are living in a perfect society, they've always depicted them as kind of snotty, their nose up in the air, where they have a bad attitude, where they treat people bad, they think that they're better. To me, that's what adds to those characters. They add new races that actually makes it even more interesting about Outworld in general, like the Nakara that the Collector's race is from. I'm actually more interested about him. I hope he comes back because I want to know more about his race. Same thing with Devora's race as well, where it's basically insects and how they play a part into it, where they like to keep to themselves and they're just fighting for the survival of their own race. Similar to Reptile's situation, which to this day, we don't know anything about Reptile's race. We just know of him and Chameleon are of the same race, and that's it. And that's something I would like for them to expand upon in the future that I'm actually more confident that they can do. I like the fact that the Elder Gods that they show a lot more than usual, that they're just pompous idiots, where they don't want to get involved with mortals' lives, and they're basically saying, well, it's your problem, don't really bother me about this problem. And to be honest, they're really the true villains of Mortal Kombat, where they don't want to intervene and they don't want to do anything when someone's asking for help. Like Raiden is asking for help, please help me, and they're just like saying riddles, and I'm like, please tell me what you need me to do, or if you're not going to do anything, just say something. Or they'll do something in the last second. It moves the narrative even more because it shows that Raiden would get tired of this, and I actually like him becoming evil in his progression, because it shows that he has defended Earthrealm many times, and he has been screwed over by a lot of people, where by the end of MKX, where he's become corrupted, and yes, that is the technicality, he gets corrupt, but I think with the amulet, it enhanced his innermost demons, where he just gets tired of it. So I like him becoming evil. And then like little narratives, like I touched on this earlier, where Shao Kahn and Sindel, I actually love them as a couple, because with that little sentence uttered by Sindel saying, I killed Jared, that has expanded upon with multiple characters that I think I will go full detail later, but it does expand on other characters. It brings sight that Shao Kahn is not just someone who wants to conquer the realms, he is capable of loving someone. Even if both of them are very evil, at least it shows that he cares about somebody, even for Melina, where he was about to mess up Devora for killing her.
After this one killed your daughter, Kotal claimed the throne.
You killed Melina? If this is true, you will die!
Which, I always loved that part because it shows that Shao Kahn actually cared about somebody. So that adds more depth to him. And then, same thing with Kitana and Liu Kang, the part where Sindel reveals this, where they were both being beaten. It strengthens Kitana, where she comes from a broken family. She never knew her father. Her stepfather is very abusive to her. Her mother is abusive to her. And then she finds love in Liu Kang, where it strengthens that story. And then we haven't even considered Melina in all of this, where, if anything, you should feel bad for Melina, because yes, she likes to kill things, but think about it as from a different point of view, that Melina didn't ask for any of this. If anything, like, Kitana kept calling her like, oh, she's an abomination.
My sister was an unholy monster, exactly like you, father.
She didn't even try to maybe change her, because she didn't look at her as a victim too, because she just sees her as, oh, you're replacing me, I need to kill you, instead of being like, hey, maybe she deserves a chance. And that's just one branch of the characters of the roster of Mortal Kombat. And that's not even getting to other parts of the story. To summarize with narrative, is that Mortal Kombat, its story has evolved ever since from the 90s for the better. Because when you look at from Mortal Kombat 9 from the reboot to 11 right now, even with Aftermath that just came out, its story has improved. Because when you look at underlying things from all the characters and all the lore to it, there's a lot of things that you can apply that to real life. And I know a lot of people don't want to mix real life with fantasy because they want to get away from that. To me, like, that's a good thing, where you need to recognize that real things can happen in fictional, because it gives you motivation, it inspires you to know what to do in real life. Because ignoring the problem is not the answer. Accepting it and how to improve it is the answer. Because when it comes to certain things, like with Raiden's authoritarian concept, is that he gets tired of it. And aren't we all tired of our authorities telling us that there's nothing we can do? They just ignore us. They're just saying, well, tough luck for you, you know. I'm in a better situation than you are, so why should I bother with your problems? And then about other races, about how they're mishandled, and racism even applying to Mortal Kombat, with Kotal, where he just wanted to kill Tarkatans for just because of what Melina did, and he's condemning all of that race.
Line them up. Execute them.
And that's not even getting to the other races, like the Shokan, I forget Devora's race, I'll just refer to him as the Hive, and then the Nakara. And then you got ones that we're familiar with, like Nightwolf, where his whole thing is fighting for his people. So, a lot of real-life problems do affect in Mortal Kombat. It is necessary to talk about. That is what it's called maturing your content. That Mortal Kombat has grown from just being mindless violence, and yes, there are still fatalities. There are still brutalities and just creative ways to kill your opponent in the game. But to me, Mortal Kombat shines in its story, in taking real life aspects and applying them into a game. And maybe you can see that too. To answer the question that I've said before, is the new timeline better? Yes, in my opinion, it is much better. Whether it's new personalities of the character that are fleshed out more, rather it's new designs where they actually go with the lore of it and expanding on the character's origin, or rather it's the narrative expanding on the realms going forward, and just putting real life stuff into Mortal Kombat, applying for it, it has become better. And I'm looking forward to what they're going to make in the future. We haven't even touched on the chaos and order realm that they have been implying for a while now, especially in MK11. The name drops here and there, the cameos. And then I'm confident that they'll make new realms as well. They could even do that, because with the end of MK11, that we don't know where they're going to go from here. Are they going to restart the whole thing going with the Great Kung Lao as is suggested? Or are they going to just let it play out and just go from there? We don't know. I'm just here to tell you that I'm actually excited about it. Whatever direction that they go to, let's keep an open mind about it. Let's see where it goes, see if it's for the better or for the worse. And from all the evidence presented, I really can't see them messing it up. I really don't see them ruining Mortal Kombat, because if anything, they just mature their content. And that's what it is. Same thing similar to God of War, where it was a good game before. Now it's a really great game because it's matured its content. And that's what it is that with Mortal Kombat, as hard as believe, I know a lot of people are probably laughing about it because with all the fatalities and such, I would like to think that Mortal Kombat has matured itself.
Chosen you as my champion, Kung Lao. We have work to do. You must be prepared, trained.
Trained? For what?
And that's it. We're done talking about the new timeline. Let's end the video. Hit the notification bell to let you know when be some more videos come out. Like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My handles will be down below. So until next time, my owlets, I'll catch you later.